I showed up late. Not traffic late. Intentional late. I killed 5 minutes outside Whitmore Estate tying and retying a shoe that didn't need it because I wasn't ready to walk in. A valet hovered, pretending he didn't see me do that. The foyer smelled of floor wax and something floral that never grows in nature. I caught my reflection in a gold mirror, shirt collar wilted, hair still damp from a too-quick rinse. Could have fixed it. Didn't. A hostess asked, "Name, sir?" I shrugged, pointed at the clipboard. She ran a painted finger down rows of calligraphy, hesitated at guest +1. Vegetarian? Looked at me like, "Make up your mind, buddy," then waved me toward the dining hall. Random thought. The hallway runner had a snag thread I almost bent to pull, but I heard violin tuning and kept walking. Dinner was already halfway through the soup course, carrot ginger. I think Elijah hates ginger but kept sipping because appearances. Grant tapped a spoon on china in a jittery drumbeat. Nobody hushed him, so maybe it was my imagination. Caroline's perfume floated everywhere, something sharp, expensive, starched. Dad sat like a carved figurehead at the table's prow, silver tie clip glued to his chest hair. I took the lonely chair near a pillar. The cushion had a cigarette burn hidden by the linen. Someone, somewhere, had been bored here before me. A waiter bent down, whispered, "Still or sparkling?" I said, "Tap's fine." Too loud. He flinched, nodded. Water tasted like fridge ice. Dessert arrived, tiny chocolate slabs that sweated under candlelight. Fork in hand, Dad tapped twice on his glass ping-ping, like a dentist checking molars, and stood. Tonight I honor my legacy, represented so brilliantly by my sons, Elijah and Grant. Legacy. No mention of the Noah unit huddling by the pillar. I chewed absolutely nothing, because my mouth had gone cardboardery. Caroline dabbed her eye with a napkin still folded, no tear to blot. I wondered if mascara can stain linen or if the chemicals repel each other. Unhelpful trivia, but my brain collects that stuff under stress. Grant's fork scraped the plate. I remembered he couldn't stand chocolate after 9 p.m. because he gets acid reflux. Fun fact. Hypocrite. Dad wrapped the speech in a bow. Thanks everyone for believing in the Blake name. I almost applauded out of muscle memory, then decided no, let the gap sit there. When the quartet started a lilting whatever in D major, I stared at my napkin, spotted a smear of someone else's lipstick, and thought, they don't see me, but at least they'll remember a stain. Fast forward 17 days. 05:42, my phone buzzed itself off the bedside table. Breaking news push. Industrial titan Marcus Blake dies peacefully in his sleep. Peacefully, sure. I pictured him half snoring, gold watch still on. Elijah called 30 seconds later. I let it ring out, partly because I was half naked, partly out of spite, mostly both. Voicemail full. As always, he lives life at capacity. The apartment smelled like bananas on the cusp of rot and burnt coffee because I'd left the mocha pot on overnight. I opened a window, let city air argue with coffee fumes. Knock knock around 2 p.m. I almost ignored it. Could be a neighbor complaining about the hallway bike again. Through the peephole, Rachel Moore, hair escaping a bun, raindrops dotting her blazer shoulders. She balanced a fat envelope and an umbrella like a magician's act. "Noah." She sighed first, then spoke. "May I come in? I've got well instructions." Sure. Mind the shoes. There's paint. Old blue paint can. Never used." She stepped around clutter, set a box on the only clean counter space, and handed me a letter sealed with a faded bird stamp. Dad never collected stamps. I filed that mystery for later. "Required reading," Rachel said, rubbing the edge of her thumb along the paper. I tore it open. 4 lines, shaky ink. "If you're seeing this, I've left you a mess. Be at the will reading. Bring strength." Am required? Like jury duty? Or actually, I said that out loud. Half to Rachel, half to the dripping tap in the sink. She inhaled like she wanted a longer conversation, settled for, honestly, the truth. Bring a tie. Truth. Right. I watched her leave, bumping my hallway bike. She muttered sorry to rubber handlebars. That apology felt more real than Dad's entire speech. Fog wrapped Whitmore Estate on Will Redding Day. Paparazzi at the gate shouted questions I pretended were for the flowers. Inside, the study's curtains were drawn to funeral darkness. Someone had lit a single lamp that buzzed. I noticed because buzzing lights make me twitch. Childhood thing. Caroline sat front row. Black dress, black pearls, black mood. Elijah's tie today was charcoal. Not perfectly aligned. He'd Googled how to tie a full Windsor and practiced. Grant scrolled but with no signal. His thumb kept flicking anyway. Phantom screen syndrome. Rachel guided me toward a creaky chair by a stuffed owl. Why does Dad own a taxidermy owl? Another unsolved riddle. Executor cleared his throat wet, like old radiator pipes launched into paragraphs. Legal blah blah until I bequeath every share, property, and asset to Noah James Blake. Room temperature flipped from cool to Arctic. Caroline's mouth worked before sound came. Elijah's chair squeaked. Grant finally dropped the phone for real, thud into carpet. Owl stared at none of us, judgy. Caroline. Absolutely not. This is absurd. Rachel. A single eyebrow. Signed, witnessed, video recorded. Me tried to swallow. Almost choked on saliva, coughed once. Very dignified. I said honestly I don't remember the exact quote, something like, I didn't ask for any of this. Which was true and also false, depending on the decade you pick. I left before the echo settled. In the hallway my knees unlocked and I half laughed, half gagged. A maid carrying lilies gave me city. Lilies smell like death even when nobody's dead. Bar near the station that fries everything. I chose a booth sticky with old soda. Rachel slid opposite, shoved a folder thicker than a Bible toward me, ordered 2 light beers without asking. Good call. Inside the folder, marriage sought Marcus Blake and Lydia Morales mom October 1993. Reno Enelman stamped 1995. Bank transfers neat monthly pulses of hush money. Hospital death papers with my teenage signature scrawled like a sad autograph. I noticed a coffee ring on one document and wondered whose desk that had lived on. Then the photo. Mum laughing, holding baby me, courthouse steps, Caroline in the blurry background, looking jealous, smug, hard to read pixel ghosts. I pressed thumb to Mum's face, felt nothing but slick plastic slipcover. Rachel said something about letters unanswered and he did care. In his own broken way, I heard the bar's ancient fridge kick on, rattling louder than her sympathy. He cared? I said, voice gone scratchy. He couldn't even pronounce my middle name. It's James. Easy still managed to mangle it. We sat there too long. Beer warmed. I drank anyway. Headquarters lobby marble echo chamber. Receptionist smelled like store-brand vanilla, smiled until she read my badge. Elevator music. Some Fox classical loop. Notes got stuck in my head the rest of the day. Executive boardroom. Glass walls, overpriced ergonomic chairs. Elijah mid-PowerPoint slide titled Vision 2030. My arrival turned that vision into a still frame. Need the room, I said, because my tongue refused fancy phrasing. Elijah blinked. We're in the middle of ending. Security appeared quietly, like stagehands. Rachel distributed termination packets. I watched Elijah's face flick through denial Langermank. Grant wasn't on the payroll that never trusted him with spreadsheets, so he just wandered somewhere. As Elijah passed, he hissed, "You're a placeholder. The board will eat you." I shrugged. Appetites mutual. After they left, I touched a conference table. Felt ridiculously smooth. No scratches. Never trust surfaces that perfect. They can test it, obviously. Hearing room smelled of stale coffee and those cheap foam floor pads that pretend to hush footsteps. Judge had a cough that reminded me of Mr. Welby, 9th grade algebra, the one who claimed I lacked visible effort. I grinned at the memory. Bad timing. Opposing counsel tossed words like coercion and diminished capacity at the bench. Rachel hit play on Dad's deathbed video. He looked shrunken, but his voice didn't waver. If they questioned this, remind them silence was my sin. Noah shouldn't pay for it. Judge rubbed eyes, scribbled something, said, "Motion denied. Will upheld." Gavel cracked once loud, final, almost cartoonish. I flinched. The courtroom clock ticked off beat, or maybe my pulse did. Caroline's heels snapped literally on the way out. She limped. Mascara smudged. For a second I wanted to offer an arm. Then she muttered, "Enjoy watching it all crumble, bastard." And the moment passed. Ownership is mostly drafts and squeaky hinges. First night alone, I slept in the guest room because my childhood room had turned into a yoga studio at some point, complete with motivational poster. Inhale, exhale, transcend. I yanked it down. I kept hearing the fridge ice maker groan, thought it was burglars, walked the halls with a golf club. Discovered Dad's trophy cabinet light stays on unless you jam the switch with tape. Did that at next morning. Cereal straight from box, milk expired. On the veranda, a gardener eyed me like I'd stolen the mansion. Maybe I had. I opened Dad's wardrobe. Everything still smelled of cedar chips and his aftershave. Pulled out a wool coat, pressed it to my face. It smelled him and also damp wood. I wore it. Sleeves too long. Walked the corridor until heat made me dizzy. Tossed it over a banister I used to slide down as a kid before Caroline banned and safe behavior. Screw that. Attic trapdoor groaned. Spewed dust that glittered in sunlight like cheap snow. Cardboard boxes labeled in Dad's cramped scrawl. College stuff. Taxes 1988. Noah misc. That last one startled me. Inside were drawings I did at age 8, dragons, rocket ships, a lopsided family portrait missing Caroline. He'd kept them. Nothing made sense. Found Mum's cassette tape labeled Bolero's Lydia. I don't own a cassette player. Maybe I'll buy one. Maybe I'll never listen. The maybe is enough tonight. Roof leaked at the dormer window. I set a bucket. Listened to drips keeping time. Drip as a drip drip. Comforting. Weirdly. Running the company is 90% emails about toner orders and 10% PR crises. Day 3. A journalist asked if I'd sell the mansion to fund a fresh philanthropic vision. I replied, "I'll sell your microphone to buy earplugs first." Not proud. But hey, still learning. Lunches became microwaved noodles, eaten over $250 million revenue reports. I kept spilling broth. Documents now smell faintly of soy sauce. Accountant Miriam laughed, gave me a spill-proof mug with rubber lid. Some nights the power flickers. Old wiring hates thunderstorms. During one blackout I sat on grand staircase steps, Candles everywhere like a cult ritual. Thought about hosting a karaoke night just to see Elijah faint. 10 A loss that keeps moving furniture grief. Turns out, isn't linear. Some mornings I wake furious, wanting to smash Dad's crystal decanter, haven't yet, but fantasies count. Other times I grab one of his monogrammed handkerchiefs, breathe the faint cologne, feel stupid, cry anyway. Once, I tried on his watch, too loose, clacked against my wrist. Took it off fast, felt like wearing someone else's heartbeat. I keep it in a drawer now, wrapped in the handkerchief I ruined with tears. 11 Staff dinner attempt. Number 1 awkward. Number 2 better. First dinner I organized for longtime staff was a flop. Fancy caterers, silent room, everyone afraid to chew. Second attempt, pizza boxes, folding chairs in the disused ballroom, playlist of 80 seconds pop leaking from my phone speaker. We laughed when grease dripped onto marble. Even Caroline's old Pomeranian, yeah, still here, half-blind, waddled in and nabbed a crust. During cleanup I asked the head housekeeper, "Was Dad ever fun?" She thought, said, he had a crooked laugh but locked it away. Then she pocketed a paper napkin printed with smiley faces souvenir, she claimed. I keep writing letters to Dad I never send, obvious. He's dead, then burning them in the library fireplace. One smelled like old whiskey. I'd spilled some. Flames popped. Embers jumped. I half expected the smoke alarm to wail. It stayed silent. Maybe broken, maybe merciful. A storm hit last night. I opened every upstairs window because Mum loved rain smell. The wind knocked over a vase. I let it shatter. Swept up in the morning. Found the owl downstairs. Someone had moved it. Or I hallucinated. Either option fine. I still don't know what legacy means. Maybe it's a synonym for leftovers, what survives the feast, cold and messy. I'm learning to cook eggs without rubberizing them, to keep houseplants alive, to sign documents without triplechoking every comma. Some reporter keeps calling me the hidden heir. I laugh. Hiding takes effort. I'm just standing here, messy hair, holding two realities. Unloved kid, accidental owner. They can print whichever sells papers. Dad's headstone unveiling is next month. I bought a cheap bouquet carnations because the florist said they last. I'll stand there, maybe curse, maybe thank him. Probably both. Humans contain multitudes. Dad certainly did. So do I, apparently. And if the world asks for a neat moral tough luck, all I've got is this. Silence can bury a person, but it can also keep secrets alive long enough to break them open. I'm breaking what needs breaking, keeping the rest, and learning which is which as I go. That's the story today. Tomorrow I might tell it differently.